is 10 o'clock. I'll open today's executive meeting, firstly by asking for apologies. I assume everyone's here then. If we have no apologies, I have no urgent items of business. Any declarations of interest? Sarah?
If you remember, we did discuss the cemetery at Shirebrook and the need for declarations from Shirebrook Town Council members.
Yes, I shall declare an ecclesiastical interest. Anyone else?
Yeah, Councillor Peake declares an interest.
Nobody else? Right, we'll move on. Minutes of previous meeting, you'll find these on between 5 and 13.
Councillor McGregor moved them as a true and correct record.
Is that seconded? It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Are you voting on screen?
It's Clive, isn't it?
Is Clive voting? Is Nick there? Is he voting? Right.
I'm voting.
Right, okay. Matters referred from scrutiny. I have none. The next one is the budgetary and policy framework items. This is Elizabeth, and you'll find these starting on page 14. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek adoption for the growth strategy and the accompanying action plan. The ambition is to become a dynamic, self-sufficient and flexible council that delivers excellent services whilst adapting to local aspirations and acting as the economic and environmental driver for Bolsover District. The highlights of this report you'll see at 1.6 and 1.7. The strategy has already contributed in generating income in excess of 1.5 million. That's over and above what the council would normally achieve. And the actions set out in the action plan at 1.7 say that they have identified an additional 10 million to what would ordinarily be achieved as well. We've tried to build an element of flexibility into this strategy because we know that things happen. We know business rates reform may be coming. We have the interim report coming out this week and the full report by the autumn. We know that the levelling up has already been announced and we are priority 2, not priority 1. And we also know that economic uncertainty continues because of the pandemic. So our strategy is to be flexible. And you will see that at 6.1 in our recommendations, we ask that the growth strategy be flexible and that officers are delegated authority to modify with the agreement of portfolio holder prior to publication, but also as we go along and we have to react to those economic pressures. So I'm happy to take any questions and would move the recommendations at 6.1, 2 and 3.
Right, thanks, Elizabeth. You should move the recommendations 1, 2 and 3 on page 17. Is that seconded? Right, is there any debate on this? Anybody got any questions for Elizabeth or appropriate officer? Mary?
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarification, really, on page 24, it states that between Ashford and Bolsover districts and the former station in Selkeston has been converted into a restaurant. That is not correct. The station was knocked down and the railway inn at the side of the station has always been there and it is a restaurant. So that's incorrect, Chair.
I'm sure our scribes will take that on board. Mary? Any further questions?
uh,
Observations?
Sorry,
Again,
Chair.
Mary? Right.
Yes. Yeah, on page 35, Oxcroft House, what are we intending to bring that back to? All these renovations? Thank you.
I'll briefly answer that, councillor Dooley. We're currently looking at prospective tenants and the scope of works that need to be done to the building to bring it up to the level where that could go ahead. I don't know if Chris or Grant have anything else to add to that.
Christopher?
Sorry, yeah, excuse me. Chris Fiddlins speaking. Yeah, we've got prospective tenants on that, looking at potentially bringing it back into retail use. And there's ongoing discussions. We were talking to Stubbing Hill, but unfortunately that interest has gone away now. So but we have got active interest in it from someone who's wanted to do retail. So hopefully that'll be back in use very soon. They've done some work on establishing what needs to be done to get its energy efficiency back up. The boiler's been stripped out of the building as it's been left empty. There's a couple of bits of refurb, but at the minute we are in active discussions with potential tenant. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. You okay with that, Mary? You can't make these things happen until somebody wants to make them happen. Duncan?
Thank you, Councillor McGregor. Colleagues, this is one of our major planks of Borswood District Council. Growth strategies are really important, and the action plans outlined on page 35 to 40 does demonstrate a wide range of areas where we are trying to develop and support, and business in the community and business further afield will see that there's a friendly approach by Borswood District Council to try to promote the development, whether it be housing or jobs, for our community. And it's a pleasure to have seconded this, and I'm pleased now when hopefully this will allow us to move forward with a plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Duncan. No one else? Can't see anybody else indicating. So it has been moved 1, 2 and 3 on page 17, and it has been seconded. All in favour? Screen. Everybody voting? Right, okay. That's carried. We'll move on to the tourism strategy. This is Elizabeth again.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to consider and adopt the tourism strategy for the district. The strategy has already been presented to scrutiny, and a new chapter on accessible tourism has been added. The main objective of this strategy is to seek an increase in the number of overnight stays. We know that visitors that stay in our district spend 4.3 times more than those who just are day visitors. And that's where you get the real value to a boost to our local economy. So it's really important that we adopt a strategy that looks at not only our amazing attractions. You know, we have some of the best country houses and attractions in the whole of the UK, but we also must look slightly beyond, so that when we are marketing tourism, we give our visitors a reason to stay here for longer. So we say that you can also do the Peak District while you're here. You can also do Robin Hood Country while you're here. Not only can you come to Bolsover Castle, Hardwick Hall, Cresswell Crags, which are the cornerstone of our attractions, you can stay here. And we know then that we will be able to grow our tourism, and it will be a real boost to the local economy. So I would move the recommendations on page 43 at 6.1, 1, 2 and 3, and of course able to take any questions.
Councillor McGregor seconded, Chair.
Right, thanks, Duncan. Any questions on this report? Clive?
Yeah, cheers, thanks, Chair. I noticed that lives on page 42 at 5.12. Obviously, you factored in there that it says an element of uncertainty as to how strongly the element, it will recover due to pandemic. So can I take it down that this strategy will be very fluid, really, I suppose, why you'll be looking at it in line with, the sort of the easing of lockdown measures and then the impact that has on tourism. And maybe we'll get something updated on a regular basis. Can I presume that? Cheers.
Yes, of course, Clive. I mean, everything we do at the moment is pandemic affected. So yes, we can certainly have updates. I don't know if Chris has got anything he wants to add to that.
I think the strategy hopes to take advantage of the reopening. This obviously, as we've probably heard over the weekend, foreign trips and holidays abroad are unlikely this year, or getting less likely as we speak. So it's all aimed at trying to boost, as Councillor Smith's already said, overnight accommodation. So we're really well placed, I think, to try and capture that boom in staycations and really bring people to this district. So, but as Councillor Smith said, yes, we have to adapt to the times, and we can regularly update as we change things and move things to reflect what restrictions are being lifted, what opportunities have arisen, and what challenges we face as we go forward. Thank you.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Liz. I'm happy at 5.11 where it says there are no financial implications. You wouldn't expect me not to say something, would you, I suppose, on it all at the end of the day. So thanks for that bit of reassurance anyway. Thank you.
When we consider that, we have to make progress, I've said numerous times that we explore every avenue, and this is just one. We can't afford not to do that, Clive. So, we do need to be perhaps at some stage investing. If we look, Mary asked earlier regarding Oakscroft House, that might be an investment that we need to look at.
Yeah.
But it's got to stack up, and we've got to be confident that whatever we do, we're doing it for the right reasons. We're going in the right direction, and there'll be a benefit to residents of Bolsover District Council. So
Yeah.
it's been you see recommendations been moved 1, 2, and 3. Duncan?
I just draw members' attention to page 75. Accessible tourism in Bolsover District. This chapter looks at accessible tourism and seeks to assess how accessible Bolsover is as a tourist location and whether tourism in the district can be made more accessible. This is really, really important. We're in the middle of England. We've got the M1 on our perimeter on one side. We have the Robin Hood line on the other side. So accessibility is really, really important to the sites which Liz had pointed out earlier in her comments. This actually, Chair, also fits nicely into our growth policy as well, because this is where we have got something that a lot of people haven't got out there, and we need to invest in that. And this strategy, I feel, will be some way towards that. Thank you.
What we have got is ambition and enthusiasm, and that's got to account for a lot of things. Right, it's been moved 1, 2, and 3. All in favour? Everybody got their hand up? I can just see Clive. Yeah, that's carried. Next one is the housing strategy. You'll find this on page 104, I think, and that's Sandra.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to agree and adopt the housing strategy for 2021 to 2024. The housing strategy sets out the council's strategic framework to meet the district's housing growth, ambitions, and housing-related support needs. Housing is a key factor in contributing to a person's health and well-being. The key housing priorities highlighted in this strategy complement the council's vision for housing, whilst having due regard to local and national policy. The key strategic housing priorities identified are providing good quality housing to a good standard, enable housing growth, and supporting vulnerable and disadvantaged people, etc., like disabled or care leavers, etc. The strategy forms a plan on how the council will work with partners in the public, private and voluntary sectors to enable housing growth across all sectors. As we know, there is a shortage of good quality housing. So I would like to move the recommendation to agree and adopt the Housing Strategy 2021 to 2024 on page 106.6.1. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. Is that seconded?
Councillor McGregor seconded.
All right, thanks, Duncan. Any questions on this one? No questions? Sometimes, you know, we have to remind ourselves exactly what we're here for, and that is to provide essential services for people that we represent, environmental health, housing, and everything else, you know, to do with public protection and continued enjoyment. Everything else that we do is an adjunct to that. It helps to support that financially and environmentally. So we all in favour? It's all been carried? Yeah, that's okay. Move on to the next one. I think that's you again, Sandra, empty property one.
Yeah. I've moved it, haven't I?
150.
Oh, we aren't empty property one. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Purpose of the report is to agree and adopt the empty property strategy. The report details are the empty property strategy sets out the council's objectives in relation to bringing empty properties back into use. So I would like to move the report recommendations that executive agree and adopt the empty property strategy on page 152.6.1. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. Is that seconded?
Councillor McGregor seconded.
Right. Any questions on this one? Clive, you've moved
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Right. Okay, Clive.
You see me, sorry, thanks.
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah.
Sometimes you probably wish you couldn't, I know, but anyway, you haven't got me this morning. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm really
you're not that bad, Clive.
Oh, really? Could that be noted?
It's a long way away from here. So.
No, I'm just really pleased about this because I never realised just how many empty properties we've got in the district. I mean, 750 is quite a phenomenal amount, isn't it, at the end of the day? And if we can start getting, 10% of these coming in on a regular basis, sort of thing, that ain't going to, help us to provide what we want to provide for the district. Some probably good quality housing linked in together with our own housing stock at the end of the day. So I'm really, if you can get excited about empty houses anyway, I feel quite happy about this and excited and look forward to seeing these various properties brought in. And I mean, not only does it help to that social sort of element that we're looking at, it also makes the environment, if we've got houses that are empty and derelict and overgrown and that, the impact on the environment and where people live, is going to be tremendous, really. It'll be a big uplift, I think, to it all. So, yeah, really pleased with this, Sandra, and, all power to Elbow has to get it done.
Thank you, Clive. And I'm
Chair,
sure at the back of your mind, you're thinking of 750 council tax payment.
Yeah,
Sandra.
yeah. Clive, yeah, officers work well with private landlords. Sometimes the landlords don't want to engage, so we try varying tactics, really, to get these properties back into up and running. And if they're left empty too long, they do cause a lot of antisocial behaviour. So I know that officers do work hard to getting these back up and running. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And I'm sure I never even thought that, Steve, at the end of the day.
Are you sure you didn't think that, Clive?
Okay, I have to admit, yeah, it did cross my mind.
Yeah. Right. We've done that one. Next one is the adoption of the Holy Trinity Churchyard at Shirebrook. Now, Sarah's reminded me that because I live in Shirebrook, I have some sort of link to this. I don't know. Sarah, can you explain what my interest is in the Holy Trinity Churchyard?
Yes, Shirebrook Town Council has applied to the district for it to be taken over, and you're chair of Shirebrook Town Council.
Did it not come from church itself then initially?
Not according to the report.
Right, okay then. So do I stay in or do I go out?
It depends whether you consider it to be a significant other interest or whether it's just another interest, in which case you could stay, speak and vote.
I think my interest is not significant, to be honest. So I'll stay in, but I'll not vote. Right. Deborah.
Okay, morning everybody. The report is it's the Holy Trinity Church at Shirebrook. It was closed quite a number of years ago by an
Steve,
order.
Steve,
Sorry.
no, I've not called for you yet, Steve.
Oh, sorry, apologies.
I know you're eager, but let's observe formalities. Deborah.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure you can correct me if I get anything wrong, Steve, or pad out the details if I omit anything. Okay, thanks, Steve. Yes, as has already been said, Shirebrook Town Council have applied to us at the District Council to adopt the Holy Trinity Churchyard at Shirebrook. This is a statutory responsibility. It's previously been maintained on a voluntary basis by parishioners, but it's now been requested that we take it over. And in keeping with some of my reports, Clive, whilst Liz saves you lots of money, I'm afraid mine tend to cost a little bit. But as Steve rightly says, we do have to provide a service. There is a small capital cost in this that's not contained within the current budget of £17,000, which is to macadam footpath and stone surface on the car park and some dry stone walling. The ongoing cost of maintenance is estimated at £1,300 a month, which should be containable within the existing budget, although there is a one-off first cost of £1,850. As I've said, it's work we've got to do, and I'm sure Steve's costed it at the best way he possibly can. I don't know if you've got any further comments, Steve?
Thanks, Deborah. I move that.
And I'll move the recommendations on page 176, 6.1, 6.2 and 3, that we undertake the maintenance of the churchyard and the maintenance and the one-off engineering works. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Deborah. Is that seconded?
Councillor McGregor, second.
Any questions on this?
Just a query, Chair. How long has the church authority been maintaining that particular yard when it was being closed? The cemetery, has it been closed? I just wonder, because normally they passed on straight away onto in the process is what's happened here. So I'm assuming it's only just recently been closed.
If I can respond to that, Chair. We don't actually have the official date when it was closed. We've requested that from the local reverend, but it has been closed for many years, which we're informed. And the church and local volunteers have been maintaining it for quite some considerable time, and have since passed it to the town council for their maintenance consideration, which has subsequently been passed to the district council. So the actual date, I don't actually have.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Duncan, for some members' benefit, in response to your question, I think it's 1901.
Well, that's a heck of a long time, Chair. It's just that I know that the churchyards in my area have been under this, where the councils took over maintenance when they've been notified they've been closed. But anyway, what we're doing is rectifying something that should have been done some years ago. So a pleasure to second it.
Any questions, comments? No further questions or comments. I wish it to be known that I'm not voting on this, and I've just sat here just to continue to direct the meeting. Sandra's declared an interest, and she won't be voting either. So all in favour? Anyone against? I think that's carried, Sarah, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Move on to item 10. This is Mary, the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government Community Champions Funding Award. You'll find this on page 178. Mary.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a very, very well written report. This is needed more than ever in our towns at the moment. I welcome it. This came about with an opportunity to go for funding from the Ministry of Housing and Communities and Local Government. And this is the second chunk of money that we've had towards our community. As you were aware, the first one was for Shirebrook, and what a difference that made. We were successful in the fund, £188,000, £832. Yeah, what a good chunk of money. I'm going to let Pam Brown, the head of Leaders Exec Partnership, go through the report, and then I'll comment later.
Pamela?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Dooley. Pam Brown, Head of Chief Leaders Executive and Partnerships. Yeah, as Councillor Dooley said, mid-December we were asked to put in an expression of interest to access funding through MHCLG. And it was a fund to target specific communities during the pandemic and post-pandemic in terms of dispelling myths, disseminating information across the communities and staying safe, and also regarding the vaccine rollout. The fund's purpose is to target these identified communities most at risk, particularly those with disabilities and migrant communities. The EOI has been successful, as Councillor Dooley said, 188,000 just over in terms of funding award. And there are 3 specific areas that we wanted to target. One was youth engagement and champions using arts as a tool for engagement and sharing experiences through the pandemic. Additional community champions, that's 4 full-time equivalent posts to work across the districts, and that's across the 4 market towns, supporting COVID messages being delivered. And then finally, digital infrastructure support in terms of town centre, touch screens and information points and advertising. The digital screens initially, they weren't too keen on because of the spread of the virus, but as things have progressed and things are getting a little bit better in communities, we are looking to do something around that later on in the process. In terms of things have moved at a fast pace. We're recruiting currently. We started interviewing on Friday, and today there are other interviews taking place this morning. So things are moving quite quickly. It's a partnership approach, and that's with public health, with Bassett Law CVS, our infrastructure provider, with Economic Development here, who have also had funding for community champion type roles. So it is a coordinated approach to make sure that there's nothing duplicated. And obviously we'll be keep monitoring things as they move forward and bring back updates. So it's really just to report the award of the funding and the fact that it's moving forward at a quick pace, and for partners to note the award of the funding and the recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Pamela, Mary, you want to come back?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll look forward to updates with you, Pam, on this new venture, because I think it's an exciting time as well. So I'll look forward to the updates, and I'll move the recommendation on pages 179.
Thanks, Mary.
Councillor McGregor was seconded.
Seconded by Duncan. Any questions on this? Duncan?
Thank you. I'm really supportive of this project, and of course reference is being made to the 4 market towns. Also, reference has been made to Bozowa district, but also on part of the text, this will provide up-to-date local intelligence for each 4 market towns and surrounding villages. And I think it's really important that the community understands the community champions, but it is for Bozowa District Council, and because there are large towns that just outside the area of the 4 market towns that's been mentioned. So the reports that's going to come forward, I think every councillor will be looking forward to them to see the information that's collected in regards to the district in general.
Right, thank you, Duncan. We are living in difficult times, and communication is probably more important today than it has been for a number of years. Any further questions? Can't see anybody. See, Mary's move recommendation has been seconded that we acknowledge the update. All in favour? That's carried. Next one is Sandra, provision of asbestos surveying and sampling services.
Thank you, Chair.
192.
Purpose of the report is to seek approval to award the contract for the provision of asbestos surveying and sampling services to Envirotech Limited, council-owned commercial and domestic properties for Bolsover District Council, following procurement through the EEM framework. As part of managing health and safety at work, Bolsover District Council has to comply with the control of asbestos regulations of 2012. The regulation places legal duties on employers to manage asbestos in their properties. The housing repair section took the decision 8 years ago to have asbestos surveys carried out to all its properties with the aim of attaining 100% asbestos database by 2024. And this will ensure we know where asbestos is present and that we have a robust management plan in place to deal with this. The existing service contract expires on the 1st of April 2021. The contract will be for an initial period of 2 years with 2 possible extensions, each of 1 year. I'd like to move the recommendations that the contract for the provision of asbestos surveying and sampling services be awarded to Envirotech Limited. It's on page 193, 6.1. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McGregor, second, Chair.
Any questions to this one? I can't see anybody waving. Any questions in here? No, you've seen recommendations 1, 2 and 3, 193 and 194. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? I think that's everybody. Yeah. We're now moving to private session. That under section 1A4 the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the stated Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and it is not in the public interest for that to be revealed.
I will second the motion.
All agree? Right, that's carried. Right, let me know when the live stream's dead or